text, audio, and video news of the globe from Scientific Television. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe with us. Thank you.
Now listen to the headline news. Trump ally Marjorie Taylor Greene to quit Congress after Epstein files feud. Ukraine's allies voice concerns over U.S. plan to end war. In Mozambique, an ISIS insurgency is newly energized as U.S. cuts impact aid programs. Supreme Court temporarily blocks Texas redistricting plan for 2026. Brazil's ex-president Bolsonaro arrested to prevent attempted escape, court says. Indian Tejas fighter jet crashes in a ball of fire at Dubai Airshow, killing pilot. Tanzanian police disposed of bodies after election violence, opposition alleges. U.S. Navy trying to pull crashed aircraft from bottom of South China Sea. At least 5 killed in Bangladesh earthquake. At least 41 dead as relentless rains flood Vietnam. Now listen to the detailed news. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a high-profile Republican congresswoman from Georgia, has announced her resignation from the U.S. Congress, effective 5 January 2026. Greene, known as one of Donald Trump's MAGA allies, became embroiled in a bitter public feud with the former president after criticizing some of his policies and persistently calling for the release of documents related to the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The conflict escalated when Trump labeled her a traitor and threatened to support a Republican challenger against her. Greene cited this conflict and the potential political harm to her district as reasons for her departure. Ukraine's allies have expressed concerns over a U.S.-drafted peace plan aimed at ending the Russia-Ukraine war. The plan, a 28-point proposal, was outlined by the U.S. and shared with Ukrainian and Russian leaders. While the plan includes elements deemed essential for a just and lasting peace, allies such as Canada, France, Germany, the UK, Japan, and EU officials raised concerns about Ukraine's borders, limitations on its armed forces, and the implementation of EU and NATO-related measures. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned the nation that the plan poses difficult choices, while Russia has indicated willingness to consider the draft as a potential settlement. Northern Mozambique's Cabo Delgado region has witnessed a sharp resurgence of ISIS violence following the collapse of major USAID-funded programs. In Mocimboa de Praia, ISIS militants recently entered a mosque, unfurled their flag, and publicly addressed locals, showing renewed confidence and territorial reach. Since early September, ISIS has launched deadly attacks, beheading civilians, displacing nearly 100,000 people, and reclaiming influence in areas previously stabilized by Mozambican and Rwandan forces. Aid programs once supporting healthcare, food security, local governance, and anti-radicalization have halted or declined, worsening the humanitarian crisis. International organizations warn of rising instability, deepening poverty, and insufficient resources to respond. Meanwhile, massive LNG investments by Total Energies and ExxonMobil remain threatened by insecurity. The U.S. Supreme Court has temporarily halted Texas's new 2026 congressional redistricting plan after concerns were raised about potential racial discrimination against minority voters. Justice Samuel Alito placed a stay on a lower court ruling that had found the map likely discriminatory. This decision carries major significance ahead of the upcoming midterm elections, where the political balance of the U.S. House of Representatives could shift. The Supreme Court's intervention follows similar cases in Alabama and Louisiana, where courts acted under tight election timelines. Texas had appealed urgently, seeking clarity before the March congressional primaries, prompting Alito to issue the temporary hold to avoid electoral confusion. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was detained at his residence in Brasilia after Brazil's Supreme Court authorized a preventative arrest to stop a possible escape attempt ahead of his upcoming prison sentence for leading a coup attempt. Federal police executed the warrant on Saturday following reports of a vigil organized by Bolsonaro's son, Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, which raised concerns about a large gathering of supporters. The Supreme Court cited information about the summoning of supporters, the risk of mass demonstrations, and evidence that Bolsonaro's electronic monitoring device had been violated. Bolsonaro's lawyers denied any escape attempt, saying he was arrested at home while monitored and in poor health. An Indian Tejas fighter jet crashed in a fireball during an aerial display at the Dubai Air Show on Friday, shocking spectators and prompting an investigation by the Indian Air Force. The crash occurred around 2:15 p.m., with videos showing thick black smoke and emergency teams rushing to the scene. The accident happened on the final day of the Middle East's largest aviation event, where flying later resumed. The Indian Air Force confirmed that the sole pilot had been killed, and a court of inquiry was being set up. The Tejas jet, a key component of India's Air Force modernization, was performing demonstration laps before it went into a nosedive and crashed. Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, has accused the police of disposing of the bodies of hundreds of demonstrators killed during a violent crackdown after a disputed election that President Samia Suluhu Hassan won by a landslide. Protests erupted during and after the October 29 vote, following the exclusion of Hassan's main rivals and the barring of Chadema from participating. Authorities imposed a curfew and internet blackout as clashes intensified. Chadema claims to have documented 2,000 deaths across different regions, although the figure has not been independently verified. International bodies like the African Union and the governments of Canada, Norway, and the United Kingdom have expressed deep concern about reports of large-scale fatalities and injuries. The U.S. Navy is conducting a major recovery operation in the South China Sea after an FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jet and an MH-60 helicopter crashed within minutes of each other during routine operations aboard the USS Nimitz. Both crashes occurred in late October, and although all crew members survived, the aircraft sank to the seafloor. A U.S. Navy salvage ship, USNS Salvor, is now on site to lift the wreckage, which experts say could reveal sensitive military technology if acquired by China. The recovery mission mirrors a previous 2022 operation when the U.S. lifted a crashed F-35 from deep ocean waters to prevent adversary intelligence exploitation. A 5.5 magnitude earthquake struck Bangladesh, killing at least 5 people, including a child, and injuring more than 450 others. The epicenter was near Narsingdi district, about 30 kilometers from Dhaka. The tremors caused buildings to shake, makeshift structures to collapse, and triggered panic across the capital. At Dhaka University, at least 10 students were injured in a stampede, while 3 people died when debris fell from a 5-story building in the Armanatola area. Relentless rains and severe flooding in central Vietnam have killed at least 41 people since the weekend, while 9 others remain missing. More than 52,000 homes have been submerged, and around 500,000 households and businesses are without electricity. Tens of thousands of residents have been evacuated as floodwaters rise to record levels, surpassing even the historic 1993 flood peak in some areas. Coastal cities like Hoi An and Nha Trang, along with major farming regions such as Dak Lak, have suffered extensive damage. Landslides have destroyed major roads, including parts of the Mimosa Pass into Dalat, causing traffic to halt. Photographs and videos show people stranded on rooftops, submerged vehicles, and collapsing bridges.